All righty. So just in terms of disclosing any, please don't disclose any personal information since we are recording this session. At the end of our session, we will, in the next day or two, send you the link. So feel free to share that with others. So I'm really excited about our presentation today, Creating Personal Networks. Denise Sonleitner and I go back a few years now, and she is the lead facilitator with the Texas Network Connections program. She's been with Texas Parent to Parent for a long time. She's the parent of an adult son named Maverick with disabilities, and has worked at creating a personal network for him and for others. And so I'm really excited that Denise is going to share her information with us today. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Heather. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen, pull up my PowerPoint, and hide some of this stuff. Okay, how's that look? You can see everything okay?
Looks good.
Okay, welcome everybody. I am here to talk to you about personal networks and how just the basics of personal networks and our personal networks are about enriching life in the present, making having a good life for your son or for your daughter, or if you are a self-advocate for yourself, and then also providing for the future. I'm not sure, I imagine most of the people on this call are parents. Would that be right, Heather?
Yeah, I would say a majority are parents.
Okay, so I promise I don't read slides from PowerPoints, except for this one. I'm going to go ahead and read it out loud. And as I read each question, I would like all of you to go ahead and think about whether or not you've ever asked yourself these questions. How are we as parents going to make sure that our son or daughter with a disability has a good life, both now and after we die? Who will make sure that the plans we have arranged and the services we have secured are implemented and functioning well after we are gone? This is a big one. How do we make sure our child is not lonely, isolated, or neglected? How do we give caring friends and family an opportunity to have a rich, fulfilling relationship with our child? And finally, if I am a person with a disability, how am I going to achieve these goals for myself? So I would argue that probably the first answer to all of these questions is you're not going to do it alone. This is a photograph of my son Maverick's network. It is called MavMen. That's the first thing you can learn about networks, is that you go ahead and you give the network a name. MavMen started when my son Maverick was 14 years old, when he was just entering transition in the school district. And he is now 25 years old. Past last March, we celebrated the 11-year anniversary of his network. And we are very excited about that. What we're going to talk about today is, I want to give you a quick explanation of what a personal network is, tell you a little bit about the Texas Network Connections program at Texas Parent to Parent. We will quickly go through the components of personal networks, and you will see a lot of photographs of network members and networks and some of the activities they do during network meetings. I'll give you some basics on how you can start a network for your son or your daughter. I got some testimonials from both parents who have started networks and also people who have joined personal networks, what they have to say about the process. And also ways that Texas Network Connections is helping families and self-advocates start personal networks. Finally, we'll have some time at the end for a Q&A. I think Heather said that everyone can go ahead and type in their questions. And then if it's all right, we'll just go ahead and we'll we'll hold those until the very end. So a personal network is an intentional community of friends and family members, even acquaintances, who assist and collaborate with a person who may be at risk of isolation because of their disability. And so we call them intentional networks, intentional communities, excuse me, because all of us, as you know, we tend to form networks organically in our daily lives, whether it just be with our neighbors or with people at our church or in our book club, at school. But for a person who has a disability, we know that people with disabilities are a lot more isolated or can become a lot more isolated. And so this is a structure of building a community and safety net for that person, so they are not isolated. So I'm going to give you, usually I show this video, it's a 6-minute video on personal networks, because we're just presenting here for maybe about 50 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and have a link for you at the end of this presentation that you can look at on the Texas Parent to Parent website to look at the video. And I do encourage you to have a look at it. It's about 6 or 7 years old, so it's a little bit dated in terms of Maverick was 18 when the video was done, but the message of the video is still very pertinent, and I do encourage you all to have a look. So Texas Network Connections got started about, we started working on a network program at Texas Parent to Parent in 2013, and we modeled it off of an organization in Vancouver, British Columbia called PLAN. And PLAN started this model back in the 1980s, a long time ago, because as good as their services are for people with disabilities, parents started thinking about, even though they had really good services, the parents, as they were hitting their 60s and their 70s, they were really worried about what their sons and daughters' lives were going to look like when they were no longer able to be there or care for them. And even though they knew that with the services their kids were getting, that they would have good services and good supports, they wanted their children to have a good life where they were engaged and excited and had relationships with people and got to do the things that are important to them. So they created this model, and at Texas Parent to Parent, we really liked what they were doing at PLAN and developed a program at Texas Parent to Parent. And in 2016, we officially launched the Texas Network Connections program. And we are helping families start networks for themselves or for their sons and daughters around the state of Texas now. There's 5 key components of networks that we subscribe to, that PLAN came up with when they were organizing the model. The first one is relationships are the key to a good life, and they are the foundation of all networks. No matter what a network seeks out to do or work on, being in relationship is the most important piece of the network model. No disability precludes a relationship, and a network is good for everyone, regardless of their disability. Successful networks are directed by individuals and or families. Most of the people we find in our children's lives are paid to be with them, whether they be attendants or therapists or sitters or doctors or school teachers or teaching assistants. But there's not many people that are in friendship and in close relationship with our children just because they want to be. So the network model focuses on the volunteer aspect of being in relationship. And the program is directed by individuals and families, it's not a government program. Networks focus on contribution. People with disabilities are often not valued for what they have to offer the world, and networks focus on what that person at the center has to offer. And finally, everyone benefits from being in community with one another. Of all of these components, I do want you to focus on relationships. They are the most important piece and the foundation of all networks. And here are some photographs of some network members. Up there in the top is Christine with Jaclyn and Jaclyn's network. And there's down here in the bottom, you'll see Maverick with Kathleen is in his network, and Sophie with Terry, and Sarah with Alana in her network. Starting a network, I get asked a lot, when's the best time to start a network? And often we hear from families when their son or daughter is entering transition or getting ready to graduate from the school district, and they start worrying about what their adult children are going to do with their days once they're not in school for 7-8 hours a day. This is a network called the Naruto Network, and it's about 3 years old now. And it started when Jake was getting ready to graduate from the school district. He was 21 years old. So let's see. But you can also start a network when the person at the center is really young. And this is a photograph of Lucas's lineup. And this network is also probably going on 3 years now. This network started when Lucas had just turned 5 years old. And they wanted to go ahead and start Lucas's network. The parents, they approached me. They wanted to get it started because as they have a large family and they have some close friends, but they felt like nobody in the family really had a clue what a day in the life of their household looked like. And it became a big struggle for the parents of being around the family, because they just didn't feel like the family knew enough or was even making an effort to support the family. And so they approached me about starting the network. There's 3 phases of starting a network: exploration, development, and maintenance. And I'll start off with this segment introducing you to the Just for Jaclyn network. It is 6 years old, and this is the photographs of the ladies in the network. And there are other network members. And Jaclyn's family wanted to start Jaclyn's network because Jaclyn, she's involved in lots of aspects in her life. She's very committed to her church. She has a job. She's had a job for several years, and they have a close family. But she was in her late 20s, and the family wanted her to have, first of all, they wanted all these different communities to understand more about her services and supports that she receives. She's on the HCS waiver. But they also wanted to bring together all these different circles of Jaclyn's life and have them all get to know one another better, so they could be form a better safety net for Jaclyn in adulthood. So the first phase of starting a network is exploration. That's when, and I think I may get to that. Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second. This is a photograph of the Wacos. I know it is spelled Waco, but the family is from Waco, but they decided to call themselves the Wacos. And this network started when Will was 20 years old, and now he's 39, approaching 40. And this is a photograph of him in front of his new house with his network and also his live-in roommate and attendant. So when you're in the exploration phase of starting a network, explore what? What does that mean? Why do I even want to start a network for my son? Why do we want people to come into our house and learn about him? Who on earth would I invite to join a network? What do we want? Why are we doing this? So it's a brainstorm session. During the exploration phase, you'll also start to explore, what are my hopes for my daughter's future? What scares me about my son's future? Why am I kind of afraid about starting a network with people? Am I nervous about asking people to join it? What's exciting to me about starting a network? Thinking about the good life that my son can have more friends in his life. Yeah, this could be really exciting. So during exploration, you're really just starting the journey of thinking about what this network thing is all about. And that's not unusual. It's kind of a new concept to a lot of us Americans. I'll just say, we have our nuclear families, and we take care of things. If there's a problem, we fix it on our own. And so this is kind of a different model, and it may feel kind of weird to a lot of families when they're even contemplating having a network for their daughter or their son. So after you have done the exploration phase and you've thought about people that you might want to invite to join the network, you need to invite them. And inviting people to join a network, it happens well in what we call an invitation meeting. And this is just a little reception that happens at your house, or over the last couple of years, they've been happening virtually over Zoom. And you invite people who you would like to be in your daughter's network to come and learn a little about what a network is all about. And why it's important to the family to start a network. During an invitation meeting, you will talk about what the expectations are of network members and ways that they can contribute to being in a network. Generally, at an invitation meeting, we don't do the ask of asking them whether or not they want to join the network during the meeting. We usually follow up after the invitation meeting with an email, and at that point asking people if they want to join the network. This is a very special network for me. It's called SNAPshots, and some of you may know Ivy or her daughter Sophie. And this network in July celebrated its 7-year birthday of the network. And this is an early photograph of the network, and back before there was Zoom or a lot of these remote access sort of platforms that we are using these days. But you will notice up in the top corner, up in the top center, a little photograph, a little telephone, and that's Susan on the phone, who lives in California, and she has been attending network meetings for the last 7 years by FaceTime. Of course, now there's Zoom, and so she's doing Zoom, but she was attending all of the meetings. Ivy wanted me to tell you about when we were starting Sophie's network and tell you how hard it was for her to even begin to think about asking people to join Sophie's network. She was afraid of imposing upon people. She was afraid, she felt like everybody is busy, including herself, and she didn't want to be adding something to anybody's plate. But when Sophie hit 20 years old and Ivy saw graduation looming in the next year, 18 months for Sophie, Ivy decided it's really no longer about what I'm afraid of or what I want to do. I really need to make this happen for Sophie. And so she approached me and we set up the network, and it's been going strong now for 7 years. Oh, okay, well, I already showed you a photograph of the, we already talked about the invitation meeting. This is Mavman again, another photograph of his network. So during the invitation meeting, I told you that we talk about ways that network members can support the network. And these are some of the basic things that we ask of network members. The one at the top is very easy. We ask network members to care about the person at the center and her family. We also ask network members to build relationships with each other in the network, not just with the person at the center, but also with each other, because and it takes time, you know, over the years, network members all get to know each other better and better. And that's a really useful thing to have, because it makes for a stronger safety net when it comes to time that the parents are no longer involved in caring for the person at the center. This is a big one. We do ask that network members make time to meet for 2 hours, 3 to 4 times a year for network meetings. Network meetings are the bread and butter of the network. They are when the network gets together and has time socializing and visiting and catching up, and then taking care of business. And we're going to get to that in just a little bit. Also, network members, we ask them to be willing over time to learn, to get to know the person at the center better. You know, for a lot of our children who have disabilities, people have a hard time seeing past a person's disability. I would imagine that many of you have had that same sort of perception in your lives with people who interact with your son or your daughter, that what they see first is the disability. And some people, it's really hard for them to get past that. They're well-meaning, but that's just, I've definitely noticed that with people in relationship with my son. So part of being in a network is to really getting to know that person as a person, you know, get to know their interests. Sure, you know, we do ask network members to get to know more about the person at the center's disability, if that's pertinent. Sometimes, you know, it's important. My son has Angelman syndrome, and there are seizures associated with Angelman syndrome. So it's important for people to know certain aspects of that diagnosis because of the seizure piece, and also because of his language. He doesn't have speech. So learning how to communicate with him is, it takes a little bit of learning. Some of it is not intuitive. As you get to know Maverick better, some of it is intuitive, but it takes a while to get past, to get to that point with him. Everybody's responsibility in the network is to ensure that the network keeps meeting. The idea of a personal network is that it's going to last during the course of Maverick's lifetime or during the course of Sophie's lifetime. And so people will, you want to make sure that it continues to meet. The other thing that we ask is that if you need to leave the network, you will work with the network to replace yourself. Again, we want to do that so the network continues to have a strong body of people. Invitation, asking people to join a network. Is it easy? This is a photograph of Gracie from the SNAPshots network, and she's, you know, got her thumbs up. Piece of cake, we got this. think to yourselves whether or not you think that this sounds like an easy thing to do, or is starting a network, does it sound difficult to you, and does it sound scary? So Heather, I'm guessing we don't have dialogue in a webinar, right? Is it more just a listening piece?
It is.
Okay.
It is, but we can have folks raise their hand and I can unmute them.
Okay. Well, let's see, we're at 12:27. We probably won't do that, but I want everybody to be thinking about if this sounds easy for you or if it sounds difficult, and maybe that will fuel some questions at the end of the presentation, and we can have the discussion then.
That sounds good.
And if it does sound easy or if it does sound hard, why does it sound hard? So this is a photograph of Joni and Danny, and they are in the MavMen network. And again, I'm not showing their video because of time, but I will tell you that I did a little 30-second video of them to ask them what it means to be in Mavericks network. And Danny said he likes being in the network because he knows there's going to be a group of people in Maverick's life in case anything bad ever happens. That was important to him. Joni, the first thing that she said about being in the in Maverick's network was that it felt like an honor to be asked. She was really happy to be asked to join the network. Made her feel special and made her feel that her relationship with Maverick was valued and important. She also said she liked having a role. And we talked at the beginning when we were giving the definition of personal networks that they are intentional communities. Again, she liked having a role because as much as she cared about Maverick, she felt intrusive to be asking things about his supports, like finances, how we were going to be setting things up for Maverick in the future. She thought it would be awkward to be asking questions like that just in a social setting. So she liked having the structure of where this is during network meetings is where people who care about Maverick can start learning more about his services and supports. And one of her roles in the network is she has expertise in all of his durable medical equipment. And this is another photograph of somebody in Maverick's network. This is Lucy, and I did a little video for her, a little clip of her as well about being in the network. And it was really sweet. She identified herself in the video. She is my daughter Ava's best friend, and she joined the network. She said she loves Maverick, but she joined the network because she wanted to be there for Ava, to be a resource for her, because she realized that siblings sometimes worry a lot about their brothers and sisters who have disabilities, and she wanted to be a resource for Ava. So you've had your invitation meeting and you've asked people whether or not they want to join the network, and you hear back from them. And once you get everybody who says yes, you schedule a network meeting, and that's when the journey begins. And here's, you've already met some people in the Just for Jaclyn network, and this is another photograph of the network. I think this was the very first time that the network met. So what do we do in network meetings? First thing that we do is we socialize and eat. I do like to encourage meals to be potluck. This is networks are a really great place for everybody in the network to contribute something. And it's also a really great place for parents to step back and let go. And as parents, I think we all would agree that we take care of a lot we pretty much know everything about our sons and our daughters, and letting go may be a little bit difficult for us, of letting go some of that information and even some of that responsibility. So something as simple as a potluck meal is one place for us as parents to do a little bit of that letting go. So the first part is socializing and eating. And the second part of all network meetings is taking care of business. And I say always have an agenda in network meetings. You want to go ahead and start your meeting on time, and you want to finish it on time. Here's a sample agenda for the very first network meeting. Always at every network meeting, you want to just quickly go around in the circle and find out what's new with people in the network. Again, as we said, it's part of the network is getting to know one another better. So we want to hear about each other's lives. Also, when you're having your first or second network meeting, you want to develop the network. You want to think about a name. What are you going to call the network? Are you going to, you've heard some of the networks that names for networks that ever just for Jaclyn and SNAPshots and MavMen and Naruto Network. There's all kinds of fun, creative ways that you can give a network an identity through a name. Also assign roles for the network. Who is going to be the facilitator of the meetings? Who's going to take notes and send out notes to everybody after the meeting? Who is going to be the timekeeper? Who is going to, so there's all sorts of roles in a network to make it run smoothly. And again, I do encourage in networks for the parent to let other network members assume those different roles, part of the letting go process for parents. It may be hard. I know it's been very difficult for some parents to not have one of the roles in the network. But it's an important first step toward letting go. And then, of course, you want to decide where you're going to meet, when, and how often. Network meetings are, at least for the first 4 or 5 years, 4 times a year for 2 hours. And I would say the majority of network meetings that I hear of are happening in the home of the person at the center. You want to every year come up with a couple goals for the network. What do you want to accomplish this year in your network? Do you want to focus this year on transition? When Maverick's network first got started, our main goal for the first year or 2 was just to invite people into our household and learn more about Maverick, get to know him better, be in relationship with him. As he hit 18 years old, some of the goals and the focus of network activities was preparing him for transition. What is his day going to look like in detail? What is his day going to look like after he graduates from the school district? And now that he's 25 years old, this past year, the focus of network activity has been on creative housing. We want, he's getting him settled with another person to live. Updates. So it's you'll go ahead at network meetings and give an update if there's just any sort of updates on your son or daughter that would be useful for network members to know. And then the getting to know interests, services, and supports component. I always I like to have this in every network meeting. Maybe it's a 15-minute piece. It's kind of at every network meeting, and it's kind of a learning forum opportunity for people who are joining the network, because when they're probably most people once they join your son's network, they're not going to know anything about the services he receives. So maybe at your first network meeting, you can spend 15 minutes talking about letting them know what an IEP is. Maybe at the next network meeting, you can let everybody know where he gets his wheelchair repaired and how frequently. Just any number of things. Another network meeting, maybe give a little overview of the HCS waiver, if that's what your daughter is receiving, or why the, if they're not receiving a waiver yet, what the interest list is. So and if you all can decide together as a network what you want to focus on. And then always before you adjourn your meeting, you want to get another, you want to get a date on the calendar for everybody for the next network meeting. Even if you need to reschedule it, you want to have something on the calendar. So here's just a few things that networks do. Just like we said, the meeting for 2 hours, 3 to 4 times a year. I like this one, a help person at the center to identify and articulate his or her needs from the network. A lot of times for a person at the center who wants to lead a self-determined life, they may need help from people in certain ways, but they also may feel like people crowd them, trying to overhelp them, thinking that they're incapable of a lot that they are very capable of doing. And so a network is a really great place for a person a self-advocate, to learn how to articulate that to a safe group of people who are going to listen to him or her and help him be as independent as possible. Of course, it's important for networks to have fun together. Yeah, it just depends on the group and the network, what you all want to do in your meetings. No matter what you decide to do in your networks, I just wanted to remind you all again that relationships are the foundation of all personal networks. So even if people are you may have certain network members that they don't really volunteer to do anything in the network, but they come to every network meeting, and your daughter really enjoys having them there, and they enjoy spending time with your daughter. That's a really important, valid piece of being in a network. Here's just some more photographs of different networks. The final phase of network development is maintenance and sustainability. As I said, the intent of a network is that it's going to last during the course of your son's lifetime or your daughter's lifetime. And you want to make sure that, that it can do that. You want to make sure that the network is doing what it needs to keep the network meeting. And I love this photograph as an illustration of maintenance, because this was the very first network meeting of the Wacos where the parents did not attend the meeting. They weren't able to attend during the suggested date because they were going to be overseas on a vacation. And a couple of the network members said, no, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have the network meeting without you. You go on your trip and have fun, and we're going to be okay. We're going to have our meeting. And Will was just busting at the seams. He really enjoyed this network meeting. He was a wonderful host at the meeting, and these are his people. So I have this photograph and this heading because I wanted to, just say that networks are not a panacea. I mean, we, sometimes with networks, they may get sluggish. You may find that you've missed a network meeting, or maybe, just any number of things. And during the SNAPshots network, Ivy, the mom, she was really feeling a little hopeless about, she felt like the network wasn't available for her during a certain incident. And rather than just feeling hopeless and getting stuck there, we decided to go ahead and have the next network meeting focus on what happened. And Ivy was able to just come clean with the network of her disappointment and confusion, and the network figured it out, what needed to be done to make the network work better should a similar incident arise again. And the network came out on the other side stronger than ever. So, and this is Ivy had bought a bottle of bubbly to celebrate another year of the SNAPshots network, which was really sweet. So here's the Just for Jaclyn network in 2015, photographs at the top. And then at the bottom are some more photographs of the Just for Jaclyn network in 2019. Networks evolve and they change over the years. You'll see there's some of the same people in 2015 and in 2019, but there's also some new people who have joined. Carter, Jaclyn's brother, got married to Annie, and they're down there in the bottom attending the meeting via Skype or whatever that is. So you'll see over the years that the network does evolve and it does get stronger. There's the Wacos Take Charge in 2018. I think I already showed you that photograph. This is a photo. These are some photographs from the Cavern Club, which has been meeting for over 13 years now. And it's called the Cavern Club because Brandon loves the Beatles. And one of the things that his network did was do a fundraising activity to raise money so that Brandon and his mom and a couple network members could go to the International Beatles Festival in Liverpool, England. And they're an ambitious network. So we talked a little bit about Texas Network Connections. The way we're helping families at Texas Network Connections start networks is, like I said, mostly raising awareness about the power of networks. I've been doing a lot of presentations such as this, just to introduce the network model to families. At Texas Parent to Parent, we offer, we have network facilitators who will work one-on-one with a family to start a network. We also offer transition action groups. We facilitate transition action groups. If a group of families want to work together and in collaboration with one another to start networks on their own for their sons and daughters. We have do-it-yourself workshops. Yeah, so I'm gonna keep that. So this is a photograph of Coulter's Intelligence Agency, which I was the facilitator for Coulter's network 5 years ago, and I worked with the family to help them launch his network. This is a photograph of a transition action group that met for 6 months for a couple hours once a month. And each family is working on starting a network for their son or daughter. Now, I wanted to go ahead and linger on this one just for a minute to let, I'm assuming that everybody on the webinar, are you all in the San Antonio area, or is this Heather, or is this statewide?
There's a possibility that there's people from outside of San Antonio, but I would presume that most of the people are from here.
Okay, yeah. So we are working with families in the Central Texas and San Antonio area to start transition action groups. And if there are people on this call who are interested in starting a network and think they might be interested in doing something like that in collaboration with other families, we're available to facilitate those transition action groups. At Parent to Parent, we're available to assist with that. And I think probably if you were interested, getting in touch with Heather would be a good start. And then we could talk more about what, how to go about getting started. So at our, we do half-day workshops with, and we teach families how to start a network for themselves, for their son or their daughter on their own without working with a facilitator. And these two families are exciting because they attended the statewide parent-to-parent conference in 2018. We did a do-it-yourself together workshop, and they attended the workshop and they set up networks on their own. And these are photographs from their networks. The top network is the Gift Keepers, and the bottom network is, they call it Rebecca's Network. So in 2019, we received a grant from the DD Council, Texas Council on Developmental Disabilities, to set up transition centers. We're starting off, in February of 2019, we launched the Transition Center of Central Texas. And we are working with families one-on-one to make sure that they are prepared for transition. I'm giving you the link to the website to learn more about the center. If you want to learn more, go ahead and go to that website, and I think they have a phone number that you can call. But I have it on this particular presentation because one of the focuses of transition, our work toward the center, is helping families start personal networks for their sons and daughters, whether it be through facilitation services or transition action groups. So, testimonials. So here's a photo, here's a Zoom photograph of the Bacon Network. And this is another network where the person at the center is very young. And he is medically fragile. And this family started his network because they wanted a crisis team of people who could be a resource when their son had to be hospitalized, which was frequently. And they have another child in the family, and they wanted to make sure that the brother had what he needed and he was well cared for when the parents had to be at the hospital with their son. So, and the Bacon Network, I'm just going to go ahead and read out this one because I really like what they had to say about the crisis team that their network formed. The crisis team was right there for us for back-to-back hospitalizations and the recovery from each. Bob and I have found this support to be a massive game changer. We felt part of a team of peers working together to care for Oliver, care for Apollo and ourselves, put food on the table, stay connected, work, think about what we need, and rest. This is a night and day difference from trying to grit it out on our own. Very grateful for what they had to say. A network leaves me feeling hopeful. I know a network is going to be a special part of my sister's life. I'm so happy I finally did this. Siblings love networks. We've already talked about that a little bit. What do network members have to say? We love putting our minds together to think about someone we all care about. It's giving me a clear way to be part of his life. We always know there's going to be a group of people there for her. It felt like an honor to be asked, and I like having a defined role in how I can support him. So developing a healthy, sustainable network, it takes a long time. This is not, it takes years, and that's okay. Networks are a work in progress. Maverick's network is 11 and a half years old, and we're still figuring things out. But it's nice because we as a network are figuring things out together. Over time, as networks mature, relationships deepen, and family members become more invested in each other's lives. So here, and I trust that Heather can share this video, this PowerPoint with you if that's useful, but here's the link to the video and some information about plan that I was telling you about and our program. So I think that's it.
That's awesome. Yes, and I was going to ask if we could go ahead and share the PowerPoint,
Yeah.
and that way they can have access to all of that, Denise. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to either raise your hand or put a question in the Q&A, and we can address that. And I know just right before COVID, Denise and I started a tag here at the ARC, and it started off wonderful, but of course COVID happened, and it kind of messed up all of our future meetings. So if you are interested in participating in a tag or creating your own personal network, feel free to reach out to me and I can help get you connected to Denise. And we can get you started. Okay.
Yeah,
so
and we do have facilitators, tag facilitators now, and with the tag, the one thing with the tag is we need a minimum of 5 families who are willing to commit for a 6-month period to meet for 2 hours a month for 6 months to work on a transition goal.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, looks like we don't have any questions.
Okay.
I guess you answered all the questions that people have. So, so that's our presentation for today. I thank you so much, Denise. It's always a pleasure to see you.
You as well.
So our next session will be Friday, November 19th, and the topic is how sexuality shapes individuals with disabilities. And Dr. Stephen Gonzalez is going to be presenting on that webinar. And just thanks to the Najm Family Foundation, the Mays Foundation for sponsoring our sessions. Again, I will follow up next week with the link to this presentation, and also we will send the PowerPoint along with it. All right, so with that, I'll say goodbye and everybody have a great weekend. Thank you.